Whoa, whoa, whoa. Howdy, partners. You remember Frontier Village in San Jose? Let's go.
It was a charming park.
If somebody had a good idea, we used it. We didn't care who it was from.
It was just a place that we loved, and I don't think we realized what we had, really, until it was gone.
It was a great place.
Because of the memories of the fun they had here and how they enjoyed things.
Joe's dream, and he kept the dream solid.
Best job I ever had.
You know, you just thought, there's no way this is going to happen. What they were doing for us it's just incredible, and it's something that we're never going to forget.
It's a whole world of adventure where the Wild West was true. Hello everyone, my name is Kris Rowberry and welcome to the Lost Parks of Northern California. Now, if you're looking for a lost park that'll just tug at your heartstrings, man, is this the episode for you? A park that San Jose residents grew up with and loved, but became a victim of the valley's own coming of age. Pony up, cowboys and cowgirls, it's gonna be a long journey. Now, in order to experience the history of Frontier Village, we have to go way back, almost to the point of real cowboys and Indians. The land that the park would eventually be built on was purchased by Congressman Everest Hayes all the way back in 1887. The Hayes family built this lavish 64-room mansion and garden on the 33-acre estate, finishing in 1904. Fast forward to 1959, and a new concept in entertainment had sprung up in the orange groves of Anaheim. Future Frontier Village founder Joe Zukin took his wife and children to Disneyland that year, and like so many others, was struck with inspiration. When Zukin returned to San Jose, he quickly purchased the land needed to build his own Western-themed amusement park. Frontier Village would encompass 15 acres of land, with an additional 17 set aside for future expansion. Now that's some foresight that Walt Disney didn't have when he built Disneyland back in 1955. Because the trees on the site were already well and mature, Zukin designed Frontier Village around them, which meant that it always stayed nice and cool throughout the summer months. Many visitors will no doubt remember these trees as landmarks in and of themselves. Lawrence "Laurie" Hollings, who had worked for various Hollywood studios, including Walt Disney's, was hired to design Zukin's idea, a Western-style theme park, but tongue-in-cheek. In 1961, Frontier Village officially opened for business to rave reviews from cowboys and cowgirls of all ages. So why a Western-themed amusement park? Well, just take a look at the shows that were popular in 1961. Gunsmoke, Bonanza, Wagon Train, The Virginian, Howdy Doody, The Lone Ranger. Need I say more? Some of the more memorable attractions included the Frontier Village stage line, the Indian war canoes, the Frontier Village and Southern Pacific Railroad, and the Lost Dutchman Mine Ride.
Hello, my name is Ed Hutton, and I was the first part-time employee at Frontier Village, and I was its last president and general manager when it closed in 1980. One of the icons that I rode and stuff, but I thought was lots of fun to watch and gave the park a special flair was the stagecoach ride. People were attracted to it, and it was popular.
Howdy, I'm Alan Weitzel. I used to be the director of food merchandise and arcades and entertainment at the village when we closed. Canoes. We love working the canoes. A lot of cute girls riding the canoes.
Howdy, my name is Cheryl Bacon, and I am a trick and fancy roper. I do rope whips, gun twirling, and I've been performing for 43 years. I loved the frontier town. I loved the fishing pond. I loved all the rides. There really isn't one specific thing. I just loved having my show on the stage, and just everybody was so generous, so giving, so loving that I'm gonna miss it. It's just nothing like today.
Hello, I'm Shaughnessy McGee, and I am Frontier Village's biggest fan. My uncle helped build part of it. He was a San Jose fireman, and they hired a lot of firemen on their off days to build stuff, maintenance and whatnot. He had built the pool table, and he loved it because he only had to make one leg. He didn't have to make 4 to match and whatever else. And he would get tickets to come out to Frontier Village, and I think the first time I came out, I was about 4 years old. My favorite ride was the antique auto ride, and the reason why is you actually felt like you were able to drive a car. I love cars. I love restoring cars. I still love cars now, and I now own 4 of those antique autos, which Happy Hollow had bought at the auction that they had. And I mean, that's just something that blows my mind, that I actually ended up with the cars from my favorite ride in the whole world. And I really mean that, the whole world.
So howdy, my name is Pat Hanna, and I am associated with Frontier Village in a way because I worked here for over 12 years. I had started here in 1967, and I was with the park until 1979. I did a number of things. I started out as a ride operator back in 1967. In fact, it was on Safety Patrol Day when that happened. I was a ride operator that entire year. I started out as a canoeman, and after that year, I worked my way up the chain of command and became a manager, and I managed 4 different departments.
The park also featured acres of undeveloped land where visitors could slowly wander through and observe the original trees planted by the Hayes family and the wildlife they attracted. That may be the best use of unused land I think I've ever heard of.
One of the big things is the landscaping and the scenery and the feel of it. It was delightful. The big trees, the walkways, the quaint buildings, the way they were painted, just the charm of the park, the background music playing in the background. It was kind of an escape for people.
I miss the gardens mostly. I miss the garden aspect where there was plants from all over the world everywhere, and it was a beautiful, beautiful park. It was a park environment that you could play in too.
The park received its first true thrill ride in 1976 with the debut of Apache Whirlwind. This electric-powered runaway mine car featured a compact figure-8 layout with sharp turns and multiple circuits. It was also built by Mack Rides.
That's really hard. One, it's an interesting one, is we'd see the families come through in the daytime with young families, young kids, and they'd be here all day, and we're working all day. We're here before they open, the gates swing open, they come. And one that I kind of laugh at and chuckle out is when the parents go to leave and the families go to leave, the kids are just, many of them are crying because they don't want to leave. They're just crying, and they've had this 8 hours or 10 hours of fun, but they don't want to go home. And that happened all the time. We'd see it. We'd be just there watching, and that would happen.
We had ice cream gazebo robbery. I was doing the stunt shows, but I was also director of foods. And so at nighttime, after the stunt shows were over, I'd get in my food outfit and I'd be the manager for the end of the day. And we used to have to lock up the park at the end of the night. And so my employee Mitch and I came back from locking up the park at East Gate, which is about where we are now. And we saw these guys trying to break into the ice cream gazebo. And I happened to have my gun, this actual gun right here, with me in a flip open valise, and I was carrying it with me. And I forgot to unload it after the stunt show. So I said to Mitch, I said, we're not gonna be able to catch these guys, but maybe we can scare the heck out of them, and so they won't come back. So I started firing rounds at them and just chased them out of the park. So that's probably the most memorable that I can remember off the top of my head.
Well, what was really funny is that I'm not a singer, and when I traveled with the Wild West show, all the cowboys start, would sing Home on the Range, You Are My Sunshine. Well, the minute I start to open my mouth, they push me back because I wasn't a singer. Well, at Frontier Village, I had 30 minutes for those 3 shows, and I had to stretch it out because all I could do was roping. And so I stretched it out and I said, okay, now kids, what we're going to do is all have a sing-along. And of course, I couldn't sing, so I would pass the mic around through the audience and let everybody sing for me. And yes. And the minute I opened my mouth, it was like, oh, I mean, I'm really off on that. So, but I can rope. And I can laugh, right? Yeah. So there you go.
I loved working here. I loved coming to work. There was a lot of things to love about this place. Number one, it was an outdoor job. We had a beautiful setting. We had a great little town, well designed. We had a great staff. We all got along very, very well together. We were very cohesive. It was just like the ideal situation. So how could anybody not love a situation like that? I, like so many others, I've met my spouse here. How many can say that?
In 1973, the park was looking to expand, but the shareholders, all 2,300 of them, couldn't afford such a large and ambitious project that Zukin was looking for. As a result, Zukin sold Frontier Village to Rio Grande Industries, which coincidentally also at the time owned Aero Development. That's the same Aero Development that had given the world the first tubular steel roller coaster, the log flume, and many other ride innovations. The price tag? $1.7 million back in 1973, which comes out to $9.3 million today. As a result of the sale, the founder of the park, Joe Zukin, was no longer the head of the company, but was still involved with the park. With such a large corporation now backing the park, Frontier Village was ready to expand. Big time. 60 additional acres of the park were planned and laid out, which would have made the park only slightly smaller than modern-day California's Great America. With Aero Development a part of the corporate mix, Frontier Village was seen as a sort of proving ground, a place to sort of showcase all the latest and greatest advancements that Aero was coming up with in Mountain View. Just imagine for a moment the world's first hydroflume, the world's first hypercoaster, the world's first suspended coaster could have been built right here at Frontier Village. So while the park began to see plans of grandiose expansion, the city of San Jose was also expanding at an incredible rate. The entire valley was transitioning from an agricultural economy to a technological mecca of the world. The land surrounding the Hayes Estate, once orchards and open fields, had now become a sprawling suburbia full of single-family tract housing. And as is the way in California, the folks who moved in right next to an already operating theme park began to complain about the noise. When Frontier Village announced that it would be expanding, the neighbors went ballistic.
To show you just how much the neighborhood put this little park through, take a trip with me up to the California Room at the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Library in downtown San Jose.
If there is any doubt about how much Frontier Village means to the people of San Jose, these 23 boxes of archive material in the main library's vault, well, they should tell you everything that you need to know. For instance, just look at this report. It's one of many that the park had to do to appease its neighbors who were attempting to sue them. I mean, there's stuff in here for traffic, public safety, visual impact, noise abatement, I mean, economics, and then public opinion, all of which pointed to saying, yes, let the park expand. And yet here we are today doing an episode of Lost Parks on it. What a shame. I mean, listen to what some folks were saying. The increase in size and use of your park will in no way reduce the value of our homes and may help to improve their value. That's one of the realtors who sold in the Blossom Valley back in the 70s. He would know, but they didn't listen. By 1976, it was becoming painfully obvious that Frontier Village was in danger of being lost forever. That's also the year that the village saw its newest competition debut, the larger, more thrilling Marriott's Great America in nearby Santa Clara. The annual landscaping budget alone at the new park was more than the original cost to build Frontier Village. They simply couldn't compete with Marriott's response to the Disney empire. After several more noise studies, constant redesigns, and annual competition for Marriott's latest thrill rides, the sun was setting quickly on Frontier Village. Residents like Lillian Brannon, who was president of United New Conservationists, weren't taking the closure sitting down. In fact, they began a petition drive to save the park. By September of 1980, her group had collected half of the 20,000 signatures needed to declare the park site a historic landmark, or at least place the fate of the park before the voters of San Jose. Despite the petition drive, however, Frontier Village finally succumbed to the mounting pressure. The last roundup, as it was called, came on September 28, 1980. But that doesn't mean the park didn't keep its trademark sense of humor until the very end.
Frontier Village Amusement Park is closing forever this September. Don't you miss it. I will. I won't get out until October.
It was really disappointing. I was called in, I don't know if they told me here or if they told me up in Denver. We were owned by the Denver Rio Grande Railroad at the time. And they called me in one way or the other and announced that they were going to sell it off for real estate. We knew the park was for sale, but we were hoping to be sold as a park. But the land became so popular as Silicon Valley development, as real estate and development for homes and condos, they decided to sell it. And so they told me, and they wanted to operate it another year, and then we would have one last year, and I had to close it down. And then I was to tell the employees, work out severance program incentives to stay, which I did. And it was pretty fair. We were disappointed grossly, but we worked it out and we had a good time. The last year was open.
Oh, it broke my heart because I had only been here almost a year after 2 years. So it just broke all of our hearts. And I thought, now what am I gonna do? Where am I gonna find another job like for roping and everything? So yes, no, it broke all of our hearts.
Just an incredible sinking feeling, like you know that somebody you really love, you're never going to get to see them again, and it's just too bad that it's gone. I think it's incredible that as many people still come here to these picnics and love it just as much. I mean, for a lot of them, they say it's kind of like a high school reunion every year, and they're getting acquainted with people they haven't seen in 30, 40 years. It's that really helps me, kind of justify some of the things I've done at my house, because my wife really kind of thinks I'm a little bit loony for doing this, because she never went, so she doesn't have the love for it, but I guess I do.
A public auction soon followed the closure, with all the rides and buildings broken up into pieces. Even wood from the buildings went up for sale. Rio Grande sold the land under Frontier Village to a real estate developer in Los Angeles. They quickly capitalized on the rapidly rising San Jose property values and built condominiums on the 60 acres that were originally planned for the park's first expansion, on the old parking lot, and where the main entrance used to be. As if to add insult to injury, the developers named their new condominium complex Frontier Village. Now, I don't know about you, but I like my Frontier Villages as amusement parks, not as condo complexes. Coming up, find out how you can still experience Frontier Village 3.5 decades after it closed. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. Now, with every Lost Parks episode, we try to find pieces of it that are still around today, and Frontier Village is no exception. To visit the park site, take Monterey Road south out of downtown San Jose. Turn left at Branham Lane, and then right on Saddlebrook. You'll notice all the street names in this neighborhood are Western themed, by the way. Half of the park site is encompassed by Edenvale Garden Park. That's where you'll find these termite-ridden pieces of wood. If they seem random, they are. They're the last pieces of Frontier Village's fence. Inside the park, you'll find these birdhouses, which are placed where actual rides used to be. You know, something tells me Rainbow Falls was a lot cooler back in the day. You can also stay here at the Hayes Mansion, whose botanical garden out front was the impetus for Frontier Village being placed where it was. Let me tell you, the inside of this place, it's class act all the way. Wow.
But if you're looking to make a ride connection to Frontier Village, jump on your trustiest steed and take a trip up Highway 50 to the town of Cameron Park and the Burke Junction Shopping Center.
Because tucked away in this small little Western-themed shopping center lies the original Frontier Village Railroad. Seriously.
My name is Bill Glasser, and I'm one of the property managers here at Burke Junction. And about 4 years ago, family purchased the shopping center here. Well, when we first saw the property, we thought, oh cool, a train operation. And all of us thought, well, that would certainly be the signature sort of addition to an Old West shopping center. We didn't realize how many feelings the community had for the train ride. People had been taking the train when they were little kids, and now they had their own children, and of course they wanted to ride the train. And unfortunately, the previous owners had left the train abandoned for 10 years. Well, the whole story was, unfortunately my brother passed away, and he was the brother assigned to manage the shopping center. And he was also very much into the film business. He was in the movie distribution business, and he loved the fact that it was an Old West town, and he loved this whole idea. And in honor of him, we decided to name the locomotive after him. And so I think he would be very happy to know that a lot of children are enjoying riding on his train. I gotta tell you, I think more people are from San Jose than any other place on earth. Because they just all say, oh, I'm from San Jose, I lived here, Mountain View, everywhere. And I said, well, so why are you here? I don't know how they end up here, but everybody remembers this train over there. In fact, they said I was 6 years old, 9 years old.
My name's Jim Harville. I'm the contract operator for the Burke Junction train. Interestingly enough, in the 2 months that I've been operating this train, I have had at least a dozen passengers who, when I tell them that part of the story, say, I rode this as a kid, or I have a picture of me and my sister on this train. It is not uncommon for me to have 3 generations of riders join me on this train. Generally, the older generation rode it at Frontier Village, and then the others rode it in the last 30 years that it's been here at Burke Junction.
Now, if you're doubting the cultural significance of Frontier Village to the greater San Jose area, look no further than Shaughnessy McGee's backyard in Campbell. He's built a replica Frontier Village, and I must say, it's frighteningly accurate. Can everybody let me out of these things? To think I'm actually sitting in a piece of Frontier Village history. I mean, it just blows the mind. Now, if you excuse me, I got some Bay Area drivers to get away from.
I don't know, I could kind of picture it in my mind coming back here, and I thought, I could go ahead and do this. Some people were kind of encouraging me to go ahead and do it, and being encouraged by people and then making them feel great by coming by and being able to be nostalgic. tend to be a little bit emotional at times, and it kind of brings some of that back to me. And seeing other people being able to enjoy it, as long as I have it, I want people to be able to touch it, feel it, enjoy it, experience it. You know, I mean, right now it's been 34 years since it closed. You know, and people can still get all of those feelings of, you know, hey, I rode these when I was a kid, or I rode these even when I was an adult. You know, get on there and use them.
Won't you come and play with us at Frontier Village? That's Frontier Village. Won't you spend the day with us at Frontier Village?
Hey, come on! Here's a special place for kids.
The rides are special too. It's a whole world of adventure where the Wild West was true. Look at all the fun we'll have at Frontier Village.
And with that, we'll let Frontier Village ride off into the sunset. Join us next time as we explore another lost park of Northern California and reclaim our amusement heritage. I'm Kris Rowberry. We'll see you next time. Come on, Buster. Come on. Man, I'll be sore tomorrow. That's your car. Because it won't automatically shut off because it's aftermarket.
I'm free and clear. Where do I find? Oh, you gotta find this. You deserve it.
This is faster than light rail in San Jose. So, Robert, where are you? I know you're working, but come on, man, it's a Lost Park shoot. What's up with that? Oh, you get paid there. Come on, give me a break. I'm king of Replica Frontier Village and the Lone Ranger. Need I say more? This is the Frontier Village Railroad.